I just gotta say one thing before we jump into the video, man. If you guys thought Jim Ryan was crying before, after he seen these sale numbers for Call of Duty, do you know the uproar, the outrage this pony is about to experience? I'm talking about this man is about to lose his mind. He don't want to lose Call of Duty on PlayStation platform in the future. Now, we don't really know if that's what's really possibly going to happen after Uncle Phil kind of came out and said that, hey man, we kind of want Call of Duty to be the new Minecraft, pretty much on every platform, even Nintendo. You know, so that is some big moves right there, man. So, but Jim Ryan don't want it on what? Game Pass. Why? Because we already know Game Pass is Microsoft gold mine, just like the PlayStation is Sony gold mine. So we already kind of know what's going down in these gaming streets. So we're just going to jump into the video, man. They're going to talk about some Call of Duty updates and sales numbers, man. So here we go.
Sort of data on Call of Duty Modern Warfare sales, which when that game came out is sort of open to interpretation because some people got on board early with the campaign, and then the Warzone hasn't come out yet, and it's sort of just in this rolling rollout. But either way, PlayStation basically tweeted that it is the fastest selling, greatest, best all-time, record-breaking. I'll read it to you. It just says, congratulations to Infinity Ward and Activision on the biggest PlayStation Store launch ever for a Call of Duty game, including pre-orders and day one sales. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is now available for PS4 and PS5. This is, you know, obviously this is a little bit of marketing. This is
100%.
Yeah, tied in with, you know, PlayStation and Call of Duty have a deal going on, and they have since last console generation. And this is, you know, hyping it up, being like, hey, everyone else is doing it. You want to do it? You want to do Modern Warfare? But it does kind of raise an interesting point where, you know, we've been wondering if Call of Duty is going to go over to Xbox because, you know, they scooped up Activision. It's not. Phil Spencer said in an interview recently that Call of Duty is going to stay on PlayStation as long as there is PlayStation, which is pretty similar to how Minecraft has behaved since Microsoft acquired Mojang. So it's kind of funny to see PlayStation hype up these sales and then Xbox to be so like, yeah, that's cool, go for it. But the other sort of interesting kind of thing that's happening is that the next Call of Duty won't be until 2024. This is Modern Warfare 2 is going to be the big one for quite some time, which means that it will inevitably sell really well. But whenever the next one rolls out, there's a really good chance, if not a definite possibility, that it is going to be a day one thing on Game Pass. And you kind of have to wonder how many people are going to slap down $70 to buy it on PlayStation versus sign up for Game Pass and just play it day and date.
I think it's gonna, you know, really depend on the gamers out there that have the Xbox as well. You know, like I have an Xbox Series X. I probably would be one of those people who just swap over and play it on Game Pass because for me, Call of Duty doesn't, you know, it's not the most long-lived experience for me. I play through the campaign, I prestige once, maybe twice, and then I felt like I've kind of done it all. And so I've just kind of move on to other stuff. But it's also, you know, part of the profession. I have to play a lot of games, so I don't have time to prestige 30 times through Call of Duty. I don't even know how many prestiges it goes up to.
Gamer.
I know, I'm such a fake gamer. You know, prestiging once or twice in the first week of launch is just not enough, apparently, to cement myself as a gamer. But yeah, I think it's going to come down to who has, you know, what console people have in their household. If you have an Xbox, you'll probably play it on Xbox for free. If you have it on, if you only have a PlayStation, I don't see people spending $200 to play Call of Duty, like to buy a Series S or $300, whatever it costs.
It's a changing sort of playing field, battlefield, whatever you want to call it. It's the way people consume Call of Duty has shifted quite a bit in recent years, where Warzone is a huge thing right now. Like that's obviously the big thing, and it's free to play.
Yeah,
and it's kind of weird to like. I mean, you know, there's always that. I don't know the stats. Vocal minority, just quiet enjoyers of it, but like some people love the campaign. And some people love the sort of conventional multiplayer, and some people don't bother with either of those things and just jump on a Warzone. And it's sort of interesting to see how, you know, we've watched Call of Duty shift from a very straightforward annualized release, comes in a box, you buy it every November, to it's a games as a service that is going to be constantly evolving and come by next month because we've turned Godzilla loose on the island. Like that kind of weird eventized approach. But Yeah, I would say that the direction it's going definitely seems very much in line with the sort of Game Pass model of just Xbox trying to really build an ecosystem and have a, it's less about the number of things as it is the number of people who are in one place consuming those things. It's not like a physical game sale. That's more like, how many people do you have signed up for this? That said, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm kind of curious though. Let's say you do own both consoles, like you have a PS5, you have an Xbox Series X or S, whichever one. What would make you, Max? I'm just going to toss this question out to you. What would make you such a loyalist that you would just get it on the PS5 as opposed to just like getting it on Game Pass? Like, would you imagine a world where that would happen, and what would that world look like?
The unmistakable thrill of the active triggers. It really feels like you're shooting a little gun with the DualSense controller. Those haptics go a long way.
Or you could just have a money gun and you just want to shoot it around, and so you just want to spend that $70. I wish I had a money gun prop. I reached down here. I was going to grab my money gun
You're
prop.
letting us down, man. I thought you had money guns. What's going on here?
I have lots of other props, just not my money gun prop.
It's easy to kind of look at this stuff and get sort of like, oh, everyone's going to jump ship and go over to Xbox. And at the end of the day, like, there are still people who are just ride or die for PlayStation, and that's like a lot of them listen to our show, and I completely get that. Like, some people are like the way they consume games. Game Pass is not an appealing thing. They want to buy a game in a box once every few months and enjoy the hell out of it, and then move on to the next thing.
And it's one thing to it's tricky because like it used to be those loyalties and like, oh, I want to play on PlayStation because my friends are playing on PlayStation, but so many games are doing crossplay now. So that's like another big point. Like, I don't even know if I haven't checked if the new one is crossplay or not.
It's actually kind of funny what's going on there, because it's sort of question mark. It's crossplay. You can't turn it off on PC. It's crossplay, yes or yes. You cannot change that. On Xbox, you can turn it off, but you have to turn off crossplay for all games entirely. So you have to do it through like the Xbox UI. PlayStation, they're just like, yeah, you can turn off crossplay if you don't want to slum it with those other people. Just keep it exclusively in the PlayStation family, which I imagine is a byproduct of kind of Sony's long history of not really wanting to dabble in crossplay. Like, we got reports that they, killed crossplay on, I think it was Rocket League and God, I forget what the other one was. But yeah, I mean, there was that whole big kind of push me pull you with Fortnite, which was like, oh, it's the biggest game in the world. Is Sony going to budge on this? And I think it's good that have crossplay out there. It's got to be this kind of funny, that's how you keep that ecosystem alive, by having as many people playing with each other as possible. It's just sort of funny that Microsoft is like, no, you can't turn that off. Don't touch that. Leave that alone. Apparently Warzone had an existing sort of known issue with this, where same deal, where you can go in the menu and turn off crossplay. But in Microsoft, if you do that, the second you like queue up to get in a game, it's like, hey, you got to turn that back on. Which is like, why is that an option to turn it off in the first place?
Weird. Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to. We've got sort of old data here, but I think it's sort of easy to look at Call of Duty as being like this big, huge thing, and like exactly how big of a deal it is to Sony is kind of amazing. This is data as of 2019, but the best-selling third-party games by platform as of 2019 for Sony hardware, the 4th, 5th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th place are all Call of Duty. The rest is a couple GTAs, Red Dead, and then Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock.
That one blows my mind. That's number 2 on the list.
So many people still out there playing Guitar Hero to this day.
Yeah. But I mean, it's we frequently talk about like, PlayStation's exclusives and the first party library and all that. And it's like, a lot of people they want to buy Call of Duty, they want to get in there and shoot some guns. And, that used to be a thing where you'd have to go in the store and buy it in November. And I don't know, it's interesting to see that whole thing kind of shift.
Yeah.
Anyway, let us know in the comments what you all make of this. How many of our listeners play Call of Duty? Like, I feel like it's very much like
I always like imagine Call of Duty as more of like an Xbox type of like genre, like the PlayStation controller isn't my ideal controller to play a first person shooter. Like the Xbox controller I think is great for first person shooters. I mean, that's just
you like the displaced thumbsticks?
Yeah, I think it works really well for me. I think maybe because my first real like FPS was Halo. Okay. So like I think maybe that kind of got ingrained into me, and I'm like, when I want to play a FPS on a console, I usually gravitate towards Xbox. Yeah.
Right.
I've never even owned an Xbox. Like, we were talking earlier about like what would make people jump ship. Would this make people jump ship to Xbox and go on Game Pass? I don't know. Like, the barrier to entry is so much lower to just subscribe to a small fee to Game Pass and like get a cheaper Xbox maybe, and then just like always have that on in the background. It's like this best of both worlds of like Warzone being free to play, and you can kind of just jump on, and then now you're just paying a little bit. Now you can just jump on to like any game on Game Pass, especially if it's Call of Duty going to come out in like 2024, right? You said. I don't know. I like it. I like that there's this non-traditional approach to like how you sell games nowadays. Like before, it's like,
I mean, there's a point in time where it's like free to play was like crappy mobile games and like Maple Story or whatever. Like there wasn't really a huge...
And we all played that for countless hours.
Yeah, and so much of it was like it's pay to win too, right? And like that's the thing I hated about like these free to play games. But like, you know, these new free to play models are, you know, I was playing Apex for like 3 years and I never paid a cent to them. Yeah. I love that. And like I never felt like I was missing out on like being better at the game because I never paid them money. And like this new model, I love it. And so if they're gonna just keep doing with this and like kind of messing with the traditional way of selling games, like, okay, here's a new game, it's $60-$70, or you can just pay a little bit of money every month, like kind of like pay it off essentially.
It's the new layaway.
Yeah, it's great. I'm super into it.
Well, I would be, whenever the next Call of Duty comes out, I'm sure it will still do just fine. I'm not worried about it selling,
I would never be worried for Call of Duty.
I would be curious, partially if it tops Modern Warfare 2, just also because Modern Warfare 2 is going to have such a long tail on it, because there is going to be that much of a wait until it, you know.
You're going to have late adopters that are going to be picking it up late down the road. Yeah, there's going to be, this is going to be, you know, and there'll be sales on it that as time progresses, and they're just going to constantly find new audiences. So I honestly hope that Call of Duty kind of follows that and just kind of sticks to a 2-year like cycle instead of doing this yearly cycle that they've been stuck in for the last decade, because you just need, I don't know. I don't feel like we need a new Call of Duty every single year. I feel like they can do just as well by adding new maps, adding new content, whatever that means, guns, you know, operators, whatever, modes. Godzilla's, King Kong.
You know what, Jada, we also don't need, I don't think we need a new FIFA every single year, but we're going to get it.
Agree.
You know what I mean?
100% agree.
That's a whole different conversation. That's a whole
I'm just saying.
There's a lot of games that do not need annual releases.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's we're sort of seeing that with Assassin's Creed. Apparently, like there's going to be Assassin's Creed Infinity, which is this whole games as a service model, and it's
I wonder what that's going to be like.
It's such a different product than buying a game and popping it in and playing a game for until you beat it. You know, it's not a thing you beat. It's like, you know,
it's going to be weird,
media,
like
basically.
Yeah, for us too, when we're like voting on Game of the Year or whatever. It's like, yeah, maybe this game that has been around for 5 years, but suddenly this year their season was phenomenal, and like, well, now who's Game of the Year?
We're gonna have to add a new category for that. Like, we're gonna have to figure out what the categories look like.
Fortnite didn't get any Games of the Year that I'm aware of. Like, it kind of kept growing and evolving, and it was consistently one of the biggest games around. But it's just kind of funny because it never had that, like, I mean, it did have that release, but no one cared until it dropped Battle Royale.
And there you guys have it, man. Call of Duty, the banger of the year, man, next to God of War. But you guys already know what to do, man. Make sure you smash that like, that subscribe button, click that notification bell, guys. And if you would like to jump into the Xbox ecosystem, the PlayStation ecosystem, or if you would like to check out my merch, my clothing, you already know, or if you like to order games or rent games, just click the links down below in the description. Thank you and peace.